In 1957, police in Philadelphia discovered a small cardboard box hidden beside a road. Inside was the body of a young boy. He had no name, no identification, no missing person report, and no family searching for him. For more than 6 decades, investigators tried to answer one question: who was the child known only as the boy in the box? The case would become one of America's longest-running unidentified child mysteries, and it would take modern forensic science more than 65 years to finally reveal his identity. On February 25, 1957, a young man checking traps in a wooded area near Susquehanna Road in Philadelphia made a disturbing discovery. Hidden among the trees was a cardboard box. Inside was the body of a young boy. The discovery immediately attracted the attention of Philadelphia police. The location was searched carefully. Investigators looked for anything that could identify the child. A name, a piece of clothing, a document, anything. But there was almost nothing. The boy appeared to have been deliberately abandoned, and whoever had left him there had provided investigators with almost no clues. The child was estimated to be between 4 and 6 years old. He was small for his age and showed signs of severe malnutrition. Investigators believed he had experienced prolonged neglect before his death. The circumstances surrounding the case were deeply troubling. The boy was not reported missing. No family contacted police. No relatives came forward. No one appeared to be looking for him. This created one of the biggest challenges investigators faced. Before they could solve the crime, they first had to discover who the victim was. Police launched a massive effort to identify the child. Photographs were distributed. Newspapers covered the case. Authorities contacted hospitals, schools, and social services agencies. Thousands of possibilities were considered. Could he have been abandoned by someone who feared reporting his disappearance? Could he have come from outside Philadelphia? Could he have been living under a different identity? Every possibility was investigated, but every lead eventually ended. The boy remained unknown. The investigation revealed several important details. The child had recently been cleaned, and his hair appeared to have been cut shortly before his death. His body had been carefully placed inside the box. Investigators believed this suggested planning rather than a random act. The box itself became a crucial piece of evidence. It had originally been used to transport a product sold by a local company. Police hoped this might provide a connection. They traced where similar boxes had been sold. They followed possible leads, but nothing connected the box to the child. Because investigators could not identify him, police turned to the public. A photograph of the child was released. The image was heartbreaking. It showed a young boy whose identity was completely unknown. The case received widespread attention. Newspapers called him America's unknown child. The public responded with theories and possible leads. But despite national attention, no one could confirm who he was. Over the years, investigators developed many theories. One theory suggested the child may have come from a troubled home where abuse and neglect were hidden. Another possibility involved illegal adoption arrangements. Investigators explored whether he could have been connected to institutions or families who never reported him missing. Some theories suggested he may have been intentionally hidden from authorities. However, none of these explanations could ever be proven. The biggest mystery remained: who was this child? For decades, detectives returned to the case. New investigators reviewed old evidence. New technology was applied whenever possible. The file was never completely forgotten, but the passage of time created enormous challenges. Witnesses aged, records disappeared, memories faded. The people who may have known the boy's identity were becoming harder to find. For more than 60 years, the case remained open but unresolved. Then technology began to change what was possible. Advances in forensic science transformed cold case investigations across the world. DNA testing allowed investigators to examine evidence in ways that were impossible in 1957. Genetic genealogy became a powerful tool. Instead of searching only traditional records, investigators could compare DNA connections through family networks. Cases that had remained unsolved for generations were suddenly being reopened. And the boy in the box case was one of them. Investigators carefully preserved evidence from the original case. Experts worked to extract genetic information. researchers began building possible family connections. They examined historical records, they studied family trees, and they searched for links that could finally reveal who the child was. The process was slow. Genetic genealogy requires careful verification. Investigators must confirm every connection before announcing an identification. But gradually, the evidence began pointing toward one name. In December 2022, authorities announced a historic breakthrough. The child known for decades as the boy in the box had been identified. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. For more than 65 years, he had been one of America's most famous unidentified victims. Now, he finally had his identity restored. The announcement represented a remarkable achievement in modern forensic investigation. A child who had been forgotten by history finally had a name. But identification did not solve every mystery. Many questions still remain. Who was responsible for Joseph's death? What happened during his final days? Why was he never reported missing? And how did a child disappear from official records in a major American city? Investigators have continued searching for answers, but the full story behind his death remains unclear. The boy in the box case demonstrates both the limitations and the power of forensic science. In 1957, investigators had photographs, witness interviews, and physical evidence. But they lacked the technology needed to uncover the truth. Decades later, DNA and genealogy changed everything. A case that seemed impossible to solve was finally given a breakthrough. Not because investigators stopped searching, but because science gave them new tools. The boy in the box case began with an unidentified child discovered in a cardboard box. It continued through decades of unanswered questions, failed investigations, and public appeals. And it finally reached a turning point when modern forensic science restored his name. Joseph Augustus Zarelli was no longer an unknown victim, but the mystery surrounding his final moments remains. A name was found, but the complete story is still waiting to be uncovered. What do you think happened to Joseph Augustus Zarelli?